say
Well,
rapport, and if
they
people
may
don't
not
know what it
understand
means,
it.
it's like
They may
I
not
get,
understand it the
yeah,
way we do.
right, and it's like, well, what is rapport?
What is rapport? They may not understand it. All right, we're live.
Oh, we're live. There we go. Now I'm misunderstood. I've been always misunderstood.
Would you
I say
call it?
something, someone says, "What does that mean?"
Your, would you say? What did you mashing? What's mash?
I was saying, I don't know. You were talking last night about smashing or mashing or mushing, but mashing, right?
Mashup.
Mashup. Okay, so it's like I was just saying to you, I've never even heard that word mashup. It's like
Mashup.
and that first thing came to my brain was potatoes,
Yeah.
mashed potatoes, mash
Yep.
up, and then you're gonna mash up potato. What are you gonna do with them after you mash them up? Are you gonna make them kind of like steak and mashed potatoes, or mashed potatoes and gravy, or mash up? It's like anyway, and then we were talking about different DJs and people think mashup or something else. One mashup is a certain type, and the others is like mash up these two songs together and mush them together. Now we
So
have a mashup. It's the Monster Mash. What is the Monster Mash anyway? It's a gargler of all those other like first
oh,
Frankenstein, somebody else is next. It's or is it sort of like a medley? So I don't even know. Like a medley, isn't that where like they put a bunch of like Beatles songs together and they go, "Love you, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
love you, yeah,
Okay.
yeah." Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Let me see if I can set the stage. I'm too busy laughing at you.
Well, I'm supposed to be funny. I'm a
I
clown.
know, yeah, I know. You're definitely entertainer for a living. That's for sure. So as I set the stage, right? Like over the last 6, 8 weeks, I've had clients come up to me or email me, and they're like, they want a mashup. Well, what what I understand a mashup to be, because I DJ for a living, I understand what a mashup is, right? So you take the acapella of one song and then you put it over the beat of another song. So it becomes one song, right? So that is a more complicated task, especially if you want to worry about, making sure the acapella is in the same key as the instrumental. And it just takes more work to make sure that you get that right. So that's basically what a mashup is, right? Acapella of one song, beat of another song creates one song, right? So you have a new song. So I've come to realize that people that aren't in the business, basically my clients, either corporate or wedding, they'll use the word mashup because they think they know what that means. What they're really looking for is a little bit of a song, and then it stops, echoes out, goes into another song, stops, echoes out, or a sound effect, record spin, bomb explosion, and then you have a combination of many songs. The last project I did was like 5 songs, and it was certain parts of the song, and that, I guess you could call that a medley. Medleys, I like to consider one beat or one easily, one song of, like we were saying, right? The Beatles, like a whole bunch of.
Yeah, one leads into another and they kind of mash up.
So that a medley of many songs. Like I have a medley of a bunch of reggae dance hall songs, and it's not the same artist, but it's the same beat, right? It's the same beat, and it just does the chorus, and then you're getting like, 30 seconds of many songs within, 8 to 15 minutes. That would be a medley. Or, there's
What
Michael
about
Jackson.
all love songs, like the love songs put in?
Well, mostly medleys have like a theme, right? Like I have a classic rock medley where it just does, I don't know, like the beat of Walk This Way, and then it goes into Sweet Home Alabama, and then it goes into something else. But there's like an underlying beat to kind of make it one song. That's what makes a medley. And then The other DJ, he was saying that medleys are also, if you've ever seen cheerleader dances, right? They'll do a little bit of a song, stops, goes into something else, stops, goes into something else, stops. So that could get a little confusing, right? So when I explain it to brides, I just say viral clips. If you've ever seen a father-daughter dance, they'll start off nice and slow. Oh, look, it's the father-daughter dance. And then some noise goes off. And then it's like, oh, let me do Apache, bah, 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 and jump on it, right? And then, the crowd gets a rise, or it'll jump into the twist. And now they're doing the twist, but it's all one production track. And I make these so that they can rehearse and not look silly in front of, their audience. And then I also made another, I guess we can call them medleys, where there's a noise, bomb explodes, and then it goes, baby, you're a firework. And then that'll echo out, firework. And then it goes into celebrate good times. Come on. But they're the individual songs. It's not like there's a beat interlining them. So that's what I consider a medley, when there's one beat, and it doesn't have to be the same tempo either. There's a Grease medley that starts at one beat and then stops and then goes down for the end, right? And then it's one track, it's 5 minutes, but it's every single Grease song. So mashup, a cappella over one beat. You can have multiple um, samples in there to make it a mashup. Medley, one beat, bunch of different songs, bum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum, and then dance tracks. I guess you could call these medleys as well. I don't like to call them medleys because it gets confusing with the one beat. I just call them viral clips, where it's like, here's a song, echo out, here's a song, here's a song, here's a song with an ending clip. So now that we've got that out of the way, I realized that a lot of my clients thought that a mashup was what I just explained as a medley or as a viral clip. So on my Facebook, I posted something along the lines that, oh, I've come to the realization that the general public doesn't understand what a mashup is, because I'm in my world, right? And when someone uses that word, again, I assumed that they knew what that was, right? And basically, if somebody wants something like that for my business, I have a charge on that, because what we sold was just the DJ and you get to pick your songs and everything. Now, if I have to go and get songs and create a production for you, I consider that studio time. Now, I would have a higher price to do a mashup, because it takes longer to make that happen, because there's, keys involved, lining up acapellas on beat and making sure that it sounds right. And it would just take longer to do. Now, the software that I have, things are getting way easier, yet at the same time, that would take me longer to do than it would be to, oh, here's a song, echo out, here's a song, echo out, here's the song, echo out. So again, I come to the realization, and then I posted it on Facebook, and a lot of people, 10 maybe, agreed that they have this similar interactions. Like, yeah, they don't want a mashup, they want a medley. Okay, well, I posted that I come to that realization. And then there was somebody else, they posted, well, you should take it easy on them. They're not in your world. And I'm like, who said that? Like, so let's talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Taking a little bit of information and thinking that you know the full story. And then you run with all these different assumptions, right? Oh, just kind of like the client that heard the word mashup, had a little bit of information, and they thought they knew what that meant. Kind of like this DJ who thought that I was mad because I came to a realization, right? So the Dunning-Kruger effect, again, you get a little bit of information and then you just run with it. Your mind goes in all these different directions, right? And what I explained, I replied to that comment on my Facebook, is that most people, if they haven't taken NLP training or if they haven't done hypnosis training, they don't ask qualifying questions. They just take a little bit of information and then they run with it and then think that's what it is. And I find myself explaining these things to people and they think I'm mad. Now I'm just educating people. Like, okay, so you see this as an issue. This is how you can get around this in the future. If you just train your mind to ask better qualifying questions, then you actually understand what's in front of you and then can make better decisions. So the client that thought they knew what a mashup was is the Dunning-Kruger effect because they had a little bit of information and then they ran wild with it and thought they knew what that meant. And then just like this other DJ, me just explaining what I had come to the realization of, thought he knew what that meant. So again, what kind of questions are you asking to the person in front of you, even like in a sales call, right? So are you asking the right qualifying questions to understand, what it is exactly what they need? And it's not like getting mad, it's just coming to better realizations. And I guess a lot of people can't handle that, I guess, is what I'm coming up with, is that, oh, you must be mad. No, I'm just asking a question or educating in you so that you could open up your mind, like, allow me to help you, help me to help you. Like,
I think where it, I guess, goes down to the bare minimum is we want to be on the same page with the person in front of us. It doesn't matter if it's about DJing or in life. If you believe one thing and the other person believes the other a different thing, it doesn't matter who's educated or not. If you don't get on the same page, there's going to be a disconnect. So even if uh, like even if Scott did go and make the one that's a lot harder for the client and they get mad because they didn't want that, they wanted the easy simple one. So
yeah.
so what really wanting to say here is basically, communicate better and make sure, you know the definition is. I was giving Scott, I was talking about Scott, C, C, and C, and C. See?
Sure. You
So,
see?
hey, which one of those C's are you talking about? Are you talking the letter C, the ocean C, hey, yes, C, C? And so there's a lot of C's. And if you're on the different page with your whoever you're in front of, they're probably going to understand what you're saying in a different manner. So, what we want as communicators and also helper of people, we want to be on the right and a good thing to do, a tag question for anyone you're talking to. Could could I repeat this back to you to see if this is what you really, is this what you mean? Because then when you talk to them and say, is this what you mean? Then they heard that you listened. Whatever you said, you're repeating back to them exactly like the way they said it. And is this what it means? And then they'll say, a lot of times I do it and I mess up and I go, no, that's not what I meant at all. And then you hear this, and you might have heard this before, but that's what you said. And I said, no, I didn't. I said this. And they said, no, you didn't. So you're getting this. But at the end of the day, to make it right for everybody in business and relationships, is we really want to have clear communication and them understanding what the word means. I
Yeah,
was
and that
given,
could get you into trouble, right? Like if
right.
you're sending contracts and you don't have it down right. I mean, oh, I paid for this. Well, that's not, in the contract because you can always go back to what's written, right? Like I know we talked about this and I know you paid an X amount of dollars, yet you know, I don't know why you thought it was something else because this is what it says in the paper. So if you're not really clear in the beginning of the sales call, okay, here's another thing, right? They sign a contract with you and now they want to add this and now they want to add that and they thought that was included. So are you going to do all those extra services or are you going to, stand your ground and be like, well, it costs extra for that. I had somebody email me yesterday and we have a contract for the wedding and then they emailed me and said, well, we want you there for a different day for a rehearsal. Make sure that we get it right. Well, you paid for the time on this day, and if you need me for another day, that's another charge because at the time or right now, we're doing time for money.
Right.
the guys that I send out. So, I mean, we'll be there for you. We'll do it. It's just an extra charge, that kind of thing. And then yesterday, yeah, yesterday I had two of these kind of situation emails, not situation, but like clarifying. Like somebody emailed me and they said they want it pipe and drape and send me a ton of pictures. I mean, that helped, yet I didn't understand from the email exactly what they were looking for. And we must have went, what do they call it, round robin? We must have run around that round robin probably 10 times. And you think, or more, like I was at the point of feeling a little bit bad because I wasn't understanding exactly what they needed. Yet, because I spent the time to understand what she needed, she was super happy that I got it right.
Another way to
And
avoid
that
this,
was over a $3,000 contract.
right. So another thing you can do right here on your website, you can actually put these common asked questions and misconceptions, saying these
Yeah.
are the
What's a
things.
mashup?
What's a mashup? So you can do that, and you can also put on there. It's like, you know, so, we Scott and I had discussed a few years ago the difference in the contract when you say it's a deposit or if it's a retainer fee. So in some areas of law, if it's a deposit, it assumes that you might be able to get it back. A retainer fee is retaining someone's time, and you're paying for their time to be on hold for you, and you don't get that back. So just the right word for the thing. And again, and it can, like was right back to CCCC. It's like, what does that mean? It's like in different contexts, it means different things. Then we were getting into anomalies, everything, that's a universal qualifier, but most everything has a different meaning to somebody else. If I said happy, what happiness means to me, what it'll mean to me. But your happiness is about you, so it's going to mean a different thing more than likely. And then hate, or anger, or any of these words, anything you can't put in a wheelbarrow is going to have different. So you don't know when you're communicating with someone, you don't know what their idea. I can even say pain. And to the people who had whatever they believe what pain is, that's what they're going to think about. And I might have a totally different my map of the world might say pain means this, and I might say pain's good. And like, what did you say? Pain's good. How could pain be good? Well, because pain gives you a warning that something's up. It doesn't mean it has to keep on open, but it's saying something's different, something's wrong. And it might not be totally wrong, but it's a warning, it's a sign. And anger's a sign, and every emotion is a sign. So they're not that they're bad, it's just that how do you interpret what somebody's saying? And and the feelings, and we learn all that in hypnosis and also NLP, and understanding people to help them. So understanding that the person in front of you is not you. If you can just understand that, and they didn't grow up like you, and they're not you, and they can't see what you see, they can't taste what hear. All their senses are different. Everyone. So you can't. So when you do that, just understand every person you talk to is not you. So they don't understand what you understand. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, something else that happened kind of recently, and I'll paint the picture for you. And just keep in mind, it's how you look at a situation, right? So when I was in one of these DJ groups, right, and somebody put their daughter inside of the Facebook group and they videotaped her DJing or something like that. I didn't see the original post. What I saw was somebody made a bad comment about this little girl who was DJing, saying something like, "Oh, she's not even doing anything," right? And then somebody else got offended by that. They took a screenshot of it, and then this is the post that I saw. He's like, "Oh, we got to get this guy out of the group because, he's being mean to little girls or something like that." So I looked at it, and I wouldn't have seen this post. Like if something bad's happened and you keep, amplifying it, you're going to show more people bad things, right? So I looked at it And most DJs, right? You're out there and then you want to be successful. And I'm sure you've had to get booed off a stage a few times to figure out that wasn't the way to go or to get better, right? So I posted or I commented on it. I was like, well, this is only going to build character. And then that guy got so mad at me. He's like, what do you mean build character? Picking on a little girl is going to build character? Well, again, it's about the information and how you look at it. I'm sure DJs have been booed off stage and it didn't feel really well, but you kicked your butt into gear and got better, right? So this is only giving this little girl the taste of what the real world is. So if you live a sheltered life, I did not live. My mom was handicapped. Every day was a freaking struggle, and we laughed at her not neck down, like she couldn't move anything. Like we had to laugh every single day to get by. It was a struggle. And somebody saying something to this little girl may not be great, yet it's going to teach her what the real world is like. And then that will build character. So it's not about the information, it's about how you interpret it.
Exactly. See, one person thinks you're trying to be mean, and you're just trying to say, "Hey, look, it builds character because I've gone through something like that." And everybody's looking, whoever the other guy was looking through his map. You shouldn't be picking on little girls. It's like I wasn't even picking on a little girl. All I was doing is saying, good for her. She's learning her ropes. And every time you go out at an event, and I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of events, seriously. So when you go out at an event, you learn something almost every time. I mean, years and years and years ago, I learned not to use Friggle Fraggle balls. Anyway, there's stories, but I'm just saying we learn every time we go out, almost every time. We change every day too. We're changing all the time. There's only one thing that's constant, it's change. So we don't see it because it's so minute, everything, but every word you hear, everything you do changes you a little bit. So, and also no matter what we say here, no matter what, somebody will either disagree with it or just argue it because they like to argue. And there'll be a certain amount of people who will agree. But it's anything you want to say on earth. It's either somebody's going to say no. It's just like Democrats, Republicans. It's basically it's life. And what we do here, we do the best we can, and I guess and there's no way either one of us is perfect to give out information every week to hopefully help you guys and ourselves to be a better and have a better, happier life. So all that stuff. And if you really think about it, everything somebody says, it's going to be how you take it because the world revolves around what you believe it does. Now, doesn't mean that's true, but it means it's true to you. If you can understand the world is different for everybody. For instance, you stick something in the middle of a group, put 10 people around it. No one can see the same thing. So and if you told somebody something by the end of it going to 10 different people, by the time it got to you, it would be totally different than what it started. So in this is what happens too when there's all the witnesses always, not always, probably always, or almost always have a different story. They saw something different because they're sorting the world out differently. Because if you think about it, if you were a police officer and you walk somebody's house, you might think of where's the exits, where could somebody attack me from? If you were a fireman, when you walk in the house, automatically you wonder where, if there was a fire, how would you escape? If you were an artist, the first thing you'd walk in probably and look at the art on the walls. If you were a chef, you'd probably want to go to the kitchen and see what kind of cookware they had. So, I mean, we sort the world and we even listen that way too. So when somebody says something, if it's not really important to us, it just goes by here. But if you would say something dangerous or say fire, it's like, okay. Or if somebody would cuss or if something, it would be more aware because there might be danger. Or so how are you
So
sorting the world? And then if you can understand that you sort it different, you can have more patience with the other people, you know. And again, just because I say a word and it means this to me, it might not mean it to you. Go
so
ahead.
that's really important to understand when building rapport. Respect the other person's world so that they feel comfortable being in your circle. And if you can't understand the other person's world by asking qualifying questions, then you don't know where they're at. You want to at least meet them where they're at. And I think you were saying something earlier about anomalies, right?
Yeah.
So
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, just realize everybody has their own way of interpreting things. So you would say something like, well, we're going to do the best that we can. Now, what does that mean to you? And what
Yeah.
does that
What
mean?
does the best mean?
Yeah.
What's your best? And what your best might not be my best. You know, the best we can, might for some people mean I'll show up and I'll do it. The other people say, well, if I'm doing the best, I'm going to study 3 weeks before I even show up. So, what is your best? And where do you put the best? Is it like, no, I got to do exactly the best and I got to be the best on earth? So that's an anomaly, like I said, about happiness and about anything you can't stick in a wheelbarrow is an anomaly pretty much. So if any emotion, hate, fear, happy, sad, what does this mean? But it means different things to other people. Go ahead.
Well, there's a caveat to that, right? The mind doesn't like an open loop. So when you say something like that, they're going to close it or make sense of it because the mind doesn't want to keep that hanging, right? What does that mean? So just keep that in mind when you're talking to the person in front of you. Let's say the common goal is here, like do a sales call, right? As long as you're, not telling them what to do, more like directing them on where to go, they will unfold what they're looking for while you're talking to them. Then we can circle that back to the assumptions. If you're making assumptions, then you're placing a frame on them. People don't like a frame being placed on them. Kind of like when that guy was like, "Oh, he's mad." Like, why would you place a frame without even talking to me or asking me? You just made that assumption. Or, like the couple were like, "Oh, I know what a mashup is." Like, no, like you just took the information and ran with it. Yet you wouldn't, say, "Hey, look, you're wrong." I'll be like, more like, "Hey, look, I understand how you came up with that. So let me help you along the way to come up with a better definition of the word so that you get it right the next time and communication can be better." And it's not talking down to somebody, it's educating somebody and lifting them up. So I guess it's all in the interpretation of how somebody takes that information and if you're delivering it properly. And then also keep that in mind, text is different, like writing a comment. I've come to realize that a lot of people will just automatically go to the negative. Like they want to take jabs for whatever reason. I think social media has made that so potent. Like it's like really, I would say tearing society apart because a lot of people want to go to, oh, compare themselves to somebody and then do a side remark. Oh, bet you can't do this, or oh, that was good, but you're not doing this. Like everybody's okay to be in their own lane. And you don't have to compare yourself to somebody else. Yet, if somebody's where you want to be, you can look at what they're doing and then kind of adapt it to what you're doing. So just keep that in mind as well. So, do you know what a mashup is, Jeff?
I know. I want to throw one thing in there. Here's here's it's going to go a little deeper, guys. So because a lot of people don't think the way we do because we study, and yet the next level down is when you are in whatever mood you are. Doesn't matter if you're happy, sad, indifferent. When you're in any of those moods, you see the world different and sometimes you react different. And if you can understand, if you can go in your mind and understand, sometimes you're reacting a different way because you're in a different mood. So, for instance, he was going, when you look at your text, if you're in a piss ass mood and you're angry for somebody's doing you wrong and you look at a text, more than likely, not 100%, if you do not switch it around in your brain saying this isn't that person, you'll look down and see more negative. Okay, because you're focusing on negative at this time. So whatever we know, the reticulating activating system, we find more of what we're looking for. So if we're negative and we will find negative, we'll find it in our text. But if at the same time, if we can understand communicating, we can change the way we communicate by changing how we come, the state we're in when we communicate with somebody. So we become a more positive person and we look at that and we can see the positive. So what you're looking for, you will find in your text, in the person in front of you, everything around you. You are going to be persuaded a little bit about what the world looks like when you're in certain moods. If you're in a happy mood, things will be brighter. If you're really tired, and this is something people might not even know, a lot of people do and a lot of people don't. But when you're tired, the world is harder to take on because it's just harder to take on. So sometimes if you find yourself moody all day, then maybe you need a little bit more sleep. I'm not being your doctor here, but yet, so just understand communicating is all of this. And the more you understand about it, then you can appropriately communicate the way you want to. And when you find that, you'll see the people in front of you because what you say to somebody is about you, and how they respond is going to be about them. Go ahead.
So basically, if somebody says something to you and you get triggered or mad or something, you just gave them power over you. So that means they can say whatever they want to you and then, pull you around like a rag doll or something like that. Yet, if you just stay calm, cool, collective, I mean, that's just this person's thought. I mean, I can't help how, like I was, even when you're teaching rapport, you always want to agree with somebody that says something to you, even if the level of agreement is, well, I could see how you came up with that. In your world, but doesn't make it true. Like, and you could be a little condescending with your limited knowledge. I completely understand how you came up with that.
Okay, I disagree with Scott here. That is not how you gain rapport. Uh, how you gain rapport there is say, yes, I can see your point. And here's
Yeah,
my,
that would
so
be a little tag.
we would take out the but, or we'd do that. So if we want rapport with somebody, we would say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. And here's another way to look at it too.
Feel,
And
felt, found.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of people use. I've heard that many times by other people, and what we have found that's not really what it turns out to be, even though it really sounds that way, because we found that this is really what happens. So
I understand you feel that way.
yeah,
I've even felt that way.
I,
But what
I
we have
agree.
found,
I agree with what you say, but the world has, and you can take it off yourself too, that they have found instead of I have found.
yeah,
They have found that it really works this way. So
researchers have found.
yeah, researchers, because a lot of times you can let the brunt be on somebody else when you're doing that. So I've heard other people say about this. The other people, and this is where we get where you're learning NLP. Other people, who are these other people? And
Oh,
that's where, if you want to break down their language, who are these other people who agree with you? It's like, and this is just, I'm not being political,
but we
but
all think this
says,
way.
Trump says a lot of stuff. He says a lot of people are saying I should, run for another office, even though, and I'm not saying that, of course, but I mean, I'm not totally against it, but yet these other people are saying, a lot of people are saying I'm really doing better than most ever any president ever alive. So he's
Who told you that?
using
Your mom?
right. He's, we're what we're asking is on the other side is to break down that language is basically who are these other people who are saying this, and how many? Other people, lots. What? And again, what's lots? This is a he uses a lot of anomalies. Basically, it means different things. It's a lot. Is that three?
Well,
It's more
again,
than two.
it's the whole open loop thing. Once you hear that, it's like, oh, let's close it down. A lot of people must be doing this, so let's get on that train, right?
Another thing, and because and I'm not for or against what Trump's doing or whatever. But what I'm saying is, you'll see Trump also, because this is a big, uh, he'll go, other people are saying this, and he takes the blame off him. And not that the blame should be on him, yet other people are saying this, I heard, and now listen to this. I heard that this person did this. Now, even if they didn't do that, and it's only a rumor, your brain now there's an open loop saying that person probably did that, because why would the president say they did? And he didn't say it. He
Yeah.
didn't say, he says, I wouldn't say this, but here's what, and he says
And
it by saying, I wouldn't say it, because you don't hear the negative. You don't
it
hear the
slips
no.
past the critical factor. If you
Yeah.
just wanted to send a message, you didn't have to say it directly. You can just say,
I'm
well,
not saying I'm not saying that
oh,
candidate who's running against me is a liar and a cheat. I'm not saying that, but I've heard. Well, I'm
so
not going to go
the
there.
the big catchphrase with conspiracy videos or people that want to implant ideas, they say, "Oh, I don't know. I'm just asking questions."
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I'm just asking questions.
Oh, here's a way to get out of all your problems with communication. It's the universal. Ready?
So, well, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I know, right? Let's get down to the nitty. Well, that's another thing too. Like, do you have the grit or the patience or the stamina to get to the details? How important is that issue to you? Or you can brush it off your shoulder. Whatever this person's talking about doesn't really matter. Yet, if it does matter, you got to ask the nitty gritty questions and get straight down to the details. And that may make the other person uncomfortable, yet that will be a need if you want to figure out what the best decision is for you, if you're just taking information from somebody else who uses anomalies.
And the more you use this kind of language, and the better you'll get at it, because at first it's a little, if you haven't, okay, in theory, anything you do that you haven't done before is not totally in your brain. So you can, uh, and every time you expand your mind a little bit, it expands a little bit. So when you do some things you're not used to, it opens up the horizon of a bigger life,
So
basically. Yeah, it's kind of taking that leap, even if it's just a little leap, go a little bit out of your comfort zone sometimes, and you'll find growth.
basically, if you're hanging out with somebody and you don't feel comfortable and you want tools to figure out why you don't feel comfortable around somebody, and if you're ready to step up or step out, we got answers. Well, anyway, I didn't want to keep this video too long. I'll get off the live stream. You have any closing remarks?
Guys, just really, the thing about communication is really thinking about it, and also taking yourself out of the picture, saying, what does this person really mean, and what is he saying? And not only going by the way you see the world, open up your horizon so you can see what he's saying and why is he saying it from his perspective. And if you want one little caveat for that, just go, what would a bird say, or a fly on the wall say from your conversation, and then see if you can see something different,
Yeah,
because a
you
lot of
should
times
do
we get
this.
stuck. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and then you go
watch
ahead and
those
do it.
words, shoulding
Well,
on
I
people.
didn't do it. You should.
You should have done it. I
Yeah,
didn't say
yeah.
that. Yes, you did.
All
No,
right.
I didn't.
We'll catch you on the next one.